We are looking at the successor to the runaway hit for travel shooters and hybrid creators, the Sony A7C III. Based on roadmap leaks, patent filings, and firmware analysis circulating right now, this isn't just an incremental refresh. It is a massive leap in what a compact body can do. But there is a huge catch, and it has everything to do with heat. Let me break down exactly what is happening behind the scenes, because the supply chain gossip is getting wild. The most consistent thread across all these leaks is a brand new sensor sitting right in that sweet spot of 33 to 36 megapixels, built on Sony's BSI architecture. But the megapixel count isn't the story here. We are seeing recurring mentions of a stacked or partially stacked design with an integrated drum layer. Now, Ming-Chi has been highly vocal lately about Sony's sensor division, especially since they supply the main glass for our iPhones. Qua's notes suggest these stacked sensor manufacturing yields are finally hitting a point where they can be pushed into prosumer bodies without destroying profit margins. Stacked sensors read out data dramatically faster than conventional BSI designs. That is precisely what you need to completely eliminate rolling shutter distortion and unlock the kind of uncropped, high frame rate video that creators have been begging for. Shrimp Apple Pro actually chimed in on a similar thread a few weeks ago regarding sensor sizes, and it aligns perfectly with the rumor that this A7C III sensor is likely a direct derivative of whatever ships in the upcoming A75 flagship body first. Following Sony's usual pattern, the compact line inherits the brains from the main line that preceded it. Powering all of this is expected to be a next-generation processor, tentatively referred to in the leaks as the BZ-XR. This is succeeding the standard Bionz XR that has powered pretty much every recent Sony body. But here is where things get genuinely tricky, and where we see massive parallels to the thermal throttling issues Apple faces with their tightly packed laptops. According to recent supply chain reports from DG Times and the ELEC, the emphasis in the new patent language isn't raw horsepower. It is thermal efficiency. That is a deliberate design constraint because the A7C chassis is incredibly small. You literally cannot bend the laws of physics. If you want desktop-class performance in a tiny box, you have to deal with the heat. It is exactly why we obsess over TSMC 3 nanometers yields and efficiency cores in M-Series Max. Processing power and heat are the two variables that will determine if this camera can actually deliver on its most ambitious promises. Uncropped 4K at 60 frames per second and the rumored 4K 120 frames per second recording generate immense amounts of heat. Several internal sources tie this entire camera's launch timeline to whether Sony can successfully implement a new hybrid active and passive heatsink system. Call it the heatsink bottleneck. Until that cooling architecture is proven in a larger body, squeezing it into the compact shell is a genuine engineering nightmare, not just a marketing checkbox. Mark Gurman has often discussed how product roadmaps get entirely derailed by thermal constraints, and we're seeing that exact scenario play out here. Because of this heat management tech that hasn't even shipped in any Sony body yet, we are looking at a late 2026 to mid-2027 release window at the earliest. The A7C II remains a massive top seller, so the company has literally zero reason to cannibalize it before their flagship gets its own runway. Are you guys actually willing to wait until 2027 for this? Or are you just going to buy an older model right now? Let me know down in the comments, because I honestly think holding off might be the smarter play if these specs are real. Let's pivot to the autofocus, because this is where the seamless integration of hardware and software really shines. Expect a dedicated AI processing unit handling subject recognition and tracking. We are talking human, animal, bird, vehicle, and insect detection, all with latency figures reportedly dropping below 30 milliseconds. Makotakra recently published some analysis on these AI algorithms, noting that the tracking performance will easily sit in the same conversation as the absolute top-tier professional bodies. That is a significant jump from the first-generation AI tracking we saw previously, which was totally capable but noticeably less refined. feels like they are finally matching the effortless magic we expect from our daily driver tech, where things just lock on and work without you having to fight through dense menus. In-body stabilization is also expected to climb, with figures circulating around 7 stops of compensation. That is up from 5.5 stops in the outgoing model. If that holds up, it is a massive improvement for handheld stills and, just as importantly, for stabilized video capture without needing to balance a heavy gimbal. This is precisely where the A7C III separates itself from its predecessor. The biggest limitation of the A7C II for hybrid shooters was that annoying 1.5 times APS-C crop when shooting 4K at 60p. It was a compromise that frustrated anyone who wanted full sensor wide-angle coverage. The A7C III is rumored to solve that outright, offering full sensor zero crop, 4K 60p, with 4K 120p on the table at a very modest 1.1 to 1.5 times crop for your slow motion work. Internally, expect 10-bit 4:2:2 color depth alongside S-Log 3 and S-Cinetone profiles. Ross Young has heavily tracked display outputs in the past, and while he focuses on screens, the external output here is huge. There's heavy talk of ProRes RAW output over HDMI. Getting ProRes RAW out of a body this size is a massive step toward professional-grade external recording workflows, saving you from the Apple tax of stepping up to a dedicated cinema rig. Then we have the physical hardware changes. Dual card slots have long been the loudest complaint about this specific product line. It drove professionals crazy. Well, this generation appears to finally address it with one CF Express type, a slot paired with one SD UHS-2 slot, exactly mirroring the setup found in the larger professional bodies. On the ergonomic side, expect a slightly deeper, recontoured grip and an additional front-facing custom button. These are modest, but incredibly welcome changes for a device that occasionally drew criticism for feeling cramped in the hand during extended shooting sessions. The weight is expected to land around 520 grams, which is a tiny increase over the 514 grams of the old one. That is a completely negligible trade-off if it comes with real ergonomic benefits and better thermal dissipation. Every single spec we are talking about today still lives firmly in rumor territory. This isn't a finalized spec sheet handed down from above. But that gap between the initial leak and the official launch is exactly why we track this stuff so closely. Making purchase decisions off speculation alone is a fast track to wasting money. But ignoring the supply chain means you might buy hardware 2 months before it becomes obsolete. So here's my final question for you. Are you holding on to your current setup until this finally drops? Or are you tempted to just bite the bullet and jump to a different flagship right now to avoid the wait? Drop your take in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and I want to know if the heat sink bottleneck is a deal breaker for your workflow.